Hi everyone, Daniel here, and today I'll be talking about one of the smartphones that I've been using for the past year, the OnePlus 5T. Now previously I've only used Nexus devices, so this was my first third-party Android device. So I'm going to go through a few things that I like about the phones and then a couple of things that I dislike about the 5T. Now first off, I'm going to start with the design of the phone and specifically the metal body. Now when I was searching for my next phone back at the end of 2017, I specifically was looking for a phone with either a metal body or a plastic back. Towards the end of 2017 and throughout 2018, we saw smartphone manufacturers build their phones with glass backs, and glass backs are of course fragile. So I wanted to avoid any phone that had a glass back, and the OnePlus 5T was one of the few high-end phones that fell into the category of not having a glass back. Now the metal on this phone is quite a bit slippery and could fall out of your hands if you were to run it naked. Fortunately, OnePlus is known for their sandstone finish. So they sold a sandstone backing for the 5T that just snaps on there and gives the phone much more grip and gives it a nice textured finish. Sometime after launch, OnePlus did offer a white version of the 5T that had sandstone finish built into it. Had that been available at launch, I definitely would have opted for that, but at least they offered the option for the black phone that they had at launch. So it certainly is the way to go for the 5T, not to run it naked, but at least have that sandstone finish. Now, one thing about the design of the phone that I don't like is the screen, specifically how tall the screen is. This is a 6-inch 18:9 or 2:1 aspect ratio. So towards the end of 2017 and into 2018, smartphone manufacturers started to want to design their phones with less bezels. And they went about this by making the screens taller rather than the devices shorter. And so with the large 6-inch screen of this device, plus the fact that it's an 18:9 aspect ratio, means that not only can I not reach the top of the screen to pull down notifications, I can't even reach the top 1/3 of the screen, which is absolutely ridiculous. So it is impossible to use this phone one-handed, which I really don't like. I do like the size of the screen for watching videos, which I do quite a bit of, but when it comes to actually using the phone, it's extremely hard, to the point where when I'm using my OnePlus 5T, I actually use it with a case and a pop socket, which gives me added ergonomics in order to use the large screen on this phone. Now going back to something on the device that I do like is the alert slider on the side of the phone. Now typically when you're using a smartphone, you adjust the volume with the volume buttons on the side of the device. And then of course on Android you have Do Not Disturb, where you can adjust the hours at which notifications come through on your phone. But most, if not all of these, are controlled through the alert slider on the OnePlus 5T. So there are 3 positions for the alert slider. You have ring, do not disturb, and silent. When on the ring setting, it of course functions normally. However, you can't actually silence the phone when you're on the ring position. You can't hit the down volume button to silence the phone. It only goes down to the lowest volume setting. If you want to silence the phone, you have to either put it on Do Not Disturb or silent, which some people might not like. Also, you can't configure Do Not Disturb through the settings. You have to use Do Not Disturb via the alert slider, which again, some people may not like. However, I have grown used to this, and I think I actually prefer the alert slider when it comes to Do Not Disturb and silencing the phone. So at night when I'm plugging in my phone, it's just a quick little extra step to switch it to do not disturb at night, which isn't a big deal. But when it comes to the big positives of the alert slider, it's great for during the day if I'm going into a meeting or otherwise need to quickly silence my phone. I don't even have to take the phone out of my pocket to accomplish that. I just stick my hand in my pocket, flip the alert slider to whichever setting I want, and boom, done. Again, didn't even have to look at the phone. And so because of that, I really like the alert slider on the OnePlus 5T. Now, a design aspect that I don't like about the phone is the bottom firing speaker. It is my opinion that all smartphones should have front-facing speakers. Before the OnePlus 5T, I was using a phone with front-facing speakers. The phone I got after the OnePlus 5T also had front-facing speakers. This cemented for me that all phones should have front-facing speakers, period. The fact that this has a bottom firing speaker is very disappointing for me. In fact, the only positive thing I can say about the speaker is that it gets really loud. I was genuinely surprised with how loud the speaker can get, although it does become distorted at the very highest volume settings, but we've all been there. When you're listening to something on your phone or you're watching a video, you have to cup your hand on the side where the bottom firing speaker is so that you can hear it better. Front-facing speakers just provide a much better user experience. And so because of that, I really have to ding this phone for having a bottom firing speaker. Moving on to the software on the OnePlus 5T. Like I said, I've only previously used Nexus devices which run stock Android. Most other third-party phone makers put some sort of customizations into their version of Android. OnePlus is like many others where they have what they call the Oxygen OS, and they do have their own customizations in here. Although UI-wise, it's very light on the customizations, which I'm appreciative of. One thing I will say that I really like about Oxygen OS is the fact that it has a dark theme for the entire OS. Somehow Google has yet to be able to figure out to do a dark theme for Android. OnePlus has it here on the 5T, which I really, really like. And then there's a bunch of other little things in here for those that like to tweak every little aspect about their phone. And they of course have pull down on the fingerprint sensor to get to the notifications tab. They have gestures, they have double tap to wake, bunch of other little customizations in here that I really like on the OnePlus 5T. So the Oxygen OS gets a thumbs up from me. Now on to the final thing that I don't like about the 5T are the rear cameras. We have a 16 megapixel main camera and a 20 megapixel low light camera. The 16 megapixel main camera is fine. At this price point, I got it for about $450. It does what it needs to do. It takes decent pictures in good light and takes sometimes okay pictures in indoor and low light. Depends on the situation really. It's mostly down to the software that the main camera fails. If you were to use a third-party camera app, the sensor itself is able to take good pictures, so some of the quality is really down to OnePlus's own software for the camera. My main gripe is, however, with the secondary low light camera. I use quotations because it doesn't really serve well as a low light camera, both in software and in hardware. So software wise, the secondary low light camera is meant to activate when the light is at a certain level, but the threshold for its activation is so low, it is effectively useless because that threshold is essentially when it's pitch black out, and so you wouldn't be taking a picture anyway. Also, the sensor in here for the low light camera is the exact same aperture as the main camera. So in theory, it's letting in about the same amount of light as the main camera. If you want a dedicated low light camera, you would be putting in a sensor with a larger aperture so that it can allow more light in. But it's the same aperture as the main camera, so it's useless as a low light camera as far as I'm concerned. So I would have much rather have seen OnePlus put in that money to a telephoto lens like there was on the previous OnePlus device, or a wide angle lens that you can take wide angle shots, which are really big on some phones, or best of all, take out the secondary camera and just put in an optical image stabilization system so that you can take good low light photography with just the main sensor. So because of that, the camera system on this, it gets a pretty big thumbs down from me. Final thing I want to talk about with the 5T is the performance and battery life of the phone, which is one of the other big reasons I got it initially. So inside is the Snapdragon 835 processor, and the version I got has 6 gigs of RAM, and this phone can do anything and everything that I throw at it. I could be playing games, running GPS, and multiple apps and multiple web pages open at the same time. Everything opens up snappy just as I left it. Nothing has to reload. Everything runs smoothly, everything runs fast, and it does everything that I asked for it and more, which I am very glad that it's able to do that. Also, battery life is absolutely exquisite. This thing can go 4 to 6 hours of screen on time with heavy usage. Normally I'm like a mid to heavy user, so if I'm listening to podcasts all day, watching videos, refreshing Twitter, loading web pages, and playing maybe a half hour of gaming, it can still get 6 to 8 hours of screen on time, so it lasts all day. If you're doing light usage, so a little bit of messaging, maybe a little bit of social media, a little bit of web browsing, you can easily get 10 hours of screen on time. So effectively a day and a half of battery life on this phone, which is absolutely exquisite. And OnePlus unfortunately does not support Qualcomm quick charging, which is a standard on many smartphones. They have their own proprietary charging solution called dash charging. Comes with their own charger and own cable. If you're willing to jump through the hoops of using dash charging, you can quickly charge this phone quicker than even Qualcomm quick charging. So you can go and have this phone completely dead, charge it up to 80% with dash charging in only 30 minutes. That is incredibly fast charging, and it's fantastic. So great charging solution from OnePlus. It is proprietary, but it honestly makes it worth it. So that's all I have to say about the OnePlus 5T. I really like it. I don't like how big the screen is personally, but everything else about it is so good that it gets a positive thumbs up from me. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.